If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
The brilliant mind, he really is genius on Fox News when it comes to all their legal stories. I love this guy, Gregg Jarrett. He's been great on our show, too. Welcome back, Gregg Jarrett. How are you, pal?
Hey, it's good to be with you. Thanks for having me back.
Great to have you back. You're always terrific on this show. My listeners love you, and I love you the most. You're in D.C., right? How's the weather there today?
No. I'm way down south in South Carolina, and it's sunny and quite nice.
Did you guys get any snow down there or anything? No, right?
We got a little dusting of snow when that big storm a couple of weeks ago hit the entire East Coast down through Florida.
Yeah.
So it lasted about a couple of hours, and it melted away in a couple of hours.
Oh, good. Yeah, we got, well, of course, up here, that snow didn't melt away because we had below zero temperatures with the wind chill for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, believe it or not. And, of course, this one, we got clobbered yesterday, 2 feet of snow in and around where I am right now. But temperatures expected to warm to 45 tomorrow. It may melt like you had in South Carolina relatively quickly. Let's get to the big story. That was a Supreme Court's decision a couple of days ago. And, Greg, you know Trump as well as I do, okay? We're both friendly with the guy.
Yeah.
He put Neil Gorsuch there. He put Amy Coney Barrett there. He expects when I put you there, you agree with me. So when he loses that decision, that's bad enough. But when people he put on the court go against him, you know he's really pissed.
Well, I suppose that's understandable, isn't it?
Sure.
But he's not the first president who appointed people to the Supreme Court and regretted it. John Kennedy is a perfect example. I mean, and the first George Bush, appointed somebody he thought was a conservative, turned out to be a liberal. So, that tends to happen. Look, Trump knew this was coming. I know that because I talked to him about it a couple of weeks after the oral arguments. And, he had paid attention to the arguments in court, and he knew which way the wind was blowing, which is why he was well prepared to replace and replicate the equivalent tariffs, but this time under 3 different trade acts that had been passed by Congress that explicitly give him tariff authority. And that's exactly what he has done. And in fact, one can argue that since the Supreme Court conceded that he can use these other acts to accomplish the same thing, that his position on exercising tariffs is now stronger than it was before.
That's a fair statement. I want to get to Kavanaugh, another one that Trump appointed, the 3 I mentioned. And he said that he went against it because he thought the refunds would be an absolute mess. What did you think of Kavanaugh's decision?
Yeah, Kavanaugh got it right. I mean, he pointed out that the Constitution gives the president power over foreign affairs and international commerce, and that tariffs, quite obviously, qualify as both. And on top of that, Congress delegated to the president emergency powers to, quote-unquote, regulate imports. What does that mean? It means tariffs, for goodness sakes. It also means, duties and limits on import goods and license fees and tariffs. It means all of those things. And Thomas's dissent, I think, also reinforced that notion. But as I say, since the court admitted that Trump can impose tariffs on other federal statutes, this is actually an endorsement. Now, I wouldn't expect the mainstream media, which is inherently lazy and biased, to report that accurately. I doubt very much whether any of them actually read the full majority opinion, much less the dissents. If they had, they might have been more accurate in their reporting.
Right. They did not do that, any of them. they just mark this as a terrible defeat. And as you point out, it's not really, but it does bode the question, the relationship between the president and the folks he chooses. I like when they're up there in front of the Senate and they go, like to Pam Bondi, hey, Pam, are you going to prosecute anybody Trump wants, even if they're not, they did nothing wrong, Hey, are you going to agree with Trump on the Supreme Court no matter what the issue is because you agree with Trump? And they never say yes. But what do you think decisions like this do to a president's, I guess, decision in choosing somebody for that position down the road?
Look, you just never know. I think he's disappointed in people like Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett. Barrett tends to do whatever the Supreme Court Chief Justice, John Roberts, does. And
correct me if I'm wrong, Greg. This is your level of expertise. She seems to disagree with Trump quite a bit, no?
Yeah, and think about it this way. It kills the constant narrative by Democrats that the Supreme Court is in the bag for Trump, that Trump controls the Supreme Court and they do whatever he asks. It's true that Trump has won far more SCOTUS cases than he's lost, but this recent decision, which the Supreme Court didn't back his use of the Emergency Powers Act, kills the narrative. It suggests that the Supreme Court is far more independent than Democrats would have you believe.
The great Gregg Jarrett here, the brilliant legal mind on Fox News. I love watching this guy. I love when he's on this program. I want to move over to Greg, to the Epstein stuff. It's still out there, and there are still people very upset. I know we had over 3 million documents, and I heard Levitt say last week we're moving on, and I'm not sure that Bondi and Trump get along all that great since all this happened, but I will tell you that speaking to Republicans and Democrats, there's still a lot of people who are dissatisfied. They're like, wait a second, Prince Andrew? That's what you've got? I mean, we know that there are millionaires and billionaires and a lot of people involved in this pedophilia scandal, and there's not arrests. There's like nothing going on. And again, I don't think this is just the Democrats. I think this is a bipartisan view, at least people I talk to, that may be anecdotal, that want to see some blood. What do you think about that?
Well, this may be one of those situations where the expectations exceeded reality. I look at this and I ask the question, are there any major revelations in these newly released files? If there are, I don't see any. Most of it seems to be previously public information and utterly irrelevant material. So it strikes me as overhyped, which is what we do a lot in America. If anything, the Epstein files seem to have boomeranged against some Democrats. There's nothing that implicates Donald Trump, but it has sullied some Democrats. For example, we found out Representative Stacey Plaskett was actually texting Epstein in the middle of a congressional hearing. Jasmine Crockett, as she's wont to do, tried to smear Lee Zeldin, the EPA administrator, but got the wrong Jeffrey Epstein in the process, which was a epic humiliation for her. I just see this as one of those situations in which maybe there'll be more revelations, but so far I haven't identified any. And, I'm loath to use the term a nothing burger, but it's shaping up to be one.
Are you surprised that there is still no suspect in the Nancy Guthrie case?
Yeah, I think it is certainly an anomaly when it comes to suspected kidnapping cases. Every aspect of it is, dramatically different. I've been critical on the air of the sheriff who has been in charge of the investigation. He's not quite, of the Andy Griffith show type sheriff.
Right. He's not.
Barney Fife. But, and there was a reason why Andy wouldn't let Barney have bullets for his gun. Look, he made some major blunders why in the world you would forego sending the valuable, critical DNA evidence to the best crime lab in the world, the FBI in Quantico, and send it instead to a private lab is really mystifying to me. But that's what this sheriff did. Releasing the crime scene within a few days and then having to go back and, reset up the crime scene is a sophomoric, amateurish blunder. And so I'm not optimistic with this sheriff in charge. He should have handed over everything to the FBI immediately and taken a back seat. And I think the outcome might have been different.
What do you think happened there?
I don't really know. I mean, look, when you've got blood on the threshold and the doorbell camera yanked out of its socket, it does look like an abduction of some sort. What the motive was it really ransom? We don't even know if ransom has been paid. It's really hard to say. I think in the end, it may come down to DNA evidence. The FBI has the largest database in the world of criminals, but what if this was done by somebody who doesn't have a profile in the database? Then you would have to do it through the very newer, criminal investigatory technique of using genealogy. But that has been quite successful in a variety of cases. In the Idaho case, for example.
Right.
So, we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds, but it's obviously tragic. It's disappointing. Our hearts and prayers go out to the Guthrie family.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and busts. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.